The whole movie's just as dumb. The entire movie's just as dumb. There's no, like, and it's not self-aware. And I was a fucking idiot for liking this 2-hour toy commercial when I was like 25 years old. What's up, Flick Connection? I'm wearing this bag on my head because, well, I'm wearing this bag because I tried to cut holes in the first one while I was wearing it, and I passed out from lack of oxygen. So, cut the holes before putting this one on, so we're good. So, I'm actually wearing a bag in general because today I want to talk to you about my guilty pleasure movies. If you yourself have a guilty pleasure movie that you're embarrassed to tell people about, liberate yourself today and click the like button and let everyone know in the comments what your worst guilty pleasure movie is. We're talking about movies everybody hates that for some reason you happen to love, or at least like a lot. These are in no real particular order. I'm saving one I'm particularly embarrassed about for the very end. But another one of mine is Anaconda. This movie is just so bad, but I watched it a bunch of times as a teenager, and I actually think I paid to rent it multiple times. Of all the bad things this movie has going for it, I cannot figure out why John Voight had that weird accent.
You speak for everybody? Gary? You speak for everybody? Huh?
Like, why couldn't he just have been like a regular, creepy, weird dude? He didn't have to have this horrible accent. John Voight's a great actor, and he just came across, like, I didn't know really who he was at the time that this came out, but he just came across as like a hack, even when I was that age. But I still like the movie. It does have some cool sequences in it. His accent actually kind of reminds me of Samuel L. Jackson in The Kingsman, having that weird lisp. Like, I like that movie, but that's such an odd choice, and like, it didn't play.
That was my dream job, gentleman spy.
I like that movie, and I actually kind of like some of the things his character did in that movie, but that weird voice just did not play. And I really, even thinking back, like, I'm not really sure why I like this movie. Like, J-Lo was nobody. Owen Wilson's actually in this movie. He was nobody. I was a white kid from South Mississippi. I didn't really know who Ice Cube was, but I liked snakes, and so this movie was, like, really cool for that reason, I guess. Plus, there's that cool scene where, like, the Anaconda, like, spoiler alert, I mean, if you haven't seen Anaconda yet, just don't even bother, but the Anaconda eats John Voight, and then, like, shortly after, like, spits him out, and he blinks, which I'm blinking.
There's a papa rat humping the shit out of this mama rat. No, he's straight pile driving her.
This one I'm not super embarrassed about, but yeah, I kind of am. Like, I really, really dug, and I still dig Bad Boys 2. Like, I know this is a popular mainstream movie, but at the same time, it is a Michael Bay movie, but I really liked it. I mean, I remember in the theater, there were multiple times where I was just like, oh, shit! Like, when someone went flying, or, like, it was just a really cool action movie, and it was just balls out when it came out, and it's still pretty solid. Even, like, a movie that I'm not embarrassed to say I really like, Hot Fuzz by Edgar Wright, they reference this movie as being like a great action movie, sort of up there with Point Break, which I'm not embarrassed to say I like Point Break. In fact, I did a drunk review of it, and we had a blast. If you want to watch that, you can check out the link here. All right, for another sequel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Not the new one. I'm talking about the one from the 90s with Vanilla fucking Ice. this movie's actually pretty cool. Like, it's super dumb, but I actually remember the day I went and saw it. Well, sort of. As far as my memory serves me, we were just kind of hanging out at the house on a Saturday. The commercial came on TV, and my dad said, "Hey, do you want to go see that?" That's not something we did a lot, and that like stood out to me. I was really into Ninja Turtles at the time, and that I was super excited to just get their surprise to go see it. So I remember it, but the cool thing about it still is like the practical effects. You know, I think the real costumes that the turtles and other creatures wear in the movie play a lot better even today than the CGI characters. A lot of kids would probably disagree with me, but the reason I would say that is they feel real and tactile because they are. Whereas the CGI stuff, as cool as it looks, it still like has like this light, airy feel to it, and it just doesn't really come across as like something you can really touch. Not quite. They're getting there, but it still looks like a cartoon, which is fairly appropriate for the Ninja Turtles. But man, I just really like the sequel. You know, the '90s sequel is just such a like '90s movie. It's bad, but I like it not because it's bad. I like it because of like for what it is. All right, here's another one I watched a lot that got a lot of flack. Still gets a lot of flack, but it does have a fan base, and that's Waterworld. I'm sure there's some fans. If you are a fan, hit me up in the comments below. I can't say that I love this movie. It's got way too many flaws to really love it, but I will say it's cool. Like, it should have been much better, but it's still fun to watch. It's interesting. It actually is a good example of a film that isn't self-aware, and the filmmakers take a crazy premise way too seriously, or not seriously enough, depending on how you're looking at it. But when I was, like 13, this was like Fury Road level shit. Today, it just totally isn't. It misses the mark. It's dumb, and it's dumb where it shouldn't be dumb, but it's still like everything takes place on the water. The jet skis. There's the giant crocodile thing. Like there's some cool stuff here. I'm not advocating a remake for this movie, but in the right hands, like a remake for this movie could be pretty fucking cool.
Keep the change. Roadhouse.
All right, this is probably everybody's favorite guilty pleasure. And some of you may not consider it a guilty pleasure, but it totally is. Let's just, let's admit it today together. And that is Roadhouse. Roadhouse has almost transcended a guilty pleasure into a realm where it's cool to like this movie, but I honestly really unironically like this movie. It's cool. It's got its cheese factor, its sort of 80s factor. Swayze with the martial arts, it's cool, but it's kind of dorky and weird too. The movie itself, I remember the first time I saw it, I was a little older when I first saw it. It really goes down this path that you don't expect it to take, and I really like it for that. It could have just stayed as this bar room, hey, we're gonna bring this place back kind of a thing, and it really there's a real villain in it, and Swayze just turns into an action hero, and there's murders in it. It's pretty sick. So, the third act of this film, Swayze keeps it real. For real, Roadhouse. All right, my last one. This is the one I'm actually really embarrassed about. Some of those are a little embarrassing because I do consider myself to be not quite a film snob, but I've got really particular taste, and I kind of know a bad movie when I see it. But this one, I missed it. I don't know what. I know I wasn't high. I wasn't drunk. It was an afternoon movie with coworkers. Went and saw the original G.I. Joe, and I loved it, guys. I loved it.
Standing in front of you are Delta 6 accelerator suits. Careful, they're worth millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars, got it. Oh, my bad. Won't have it again.
I actually saw this in the theater twice. 2 times. Now, the first time I didn't pay for a ticket, but I thought it was so cool. And keep in mind, I'm 32 years old now. I think this movie is less than 10 years old. So again, grown-ass man, went and saw G.I. Joe with coworkers. Wife didn't get to go. I thought it was so cool, I needed to take her to go see this movie. I thought the underwater sequence at the end was like better than anything in Star Wars Episode 1 through 3. And I'm not that far off on that, but it's not nearly as good as I really thought it was. In fact, the second time in the theater, I realized like when all the ice comes collapsing in at the end, that like all of that ice would have just floated. Like, why is that ice sinking and crushing this underwater base? Like, that was like the climax, and it makes no sense. Yeah, the ice would have just floated, and then when you add that logic, you apply that logic to the entire movie, the whole movie's just as dumb. The entire movie's just as dumb. There's no, like, and it's not self-aware. It might be a little bit, but it really isn't. And I was a fucking idiot for liking this 2-hour toy commercial when I was like 25 years old. Man, that felt good. I appreciate you sharing this with me. I'm very curious to read all these comments. I know that you're all furiously typing below. So let's please share. Let's move on. Let's not feel so guilty, even though I'm continuing to wear this bag. Likes, comments, subscribes, always appreciated. But until next time, thanks for watching.